Hi, everybody. Welcome to The Right Side. Doug Billings here. So the assassination continue, and the rhetoric of the radical left liberal hierarchy has not slowed down. This is an incredible development. We see this happening right before our very eyes. He must be stopped. He cannot continue. Everything he does is a threat to democracy. He's a threat to the republic, whatever it may be. Again and again and again, we see that the radical left is terrified of President Trump because of what he represents should he win a second term, and therefore the rhetoric does not cool down. It does not slow down. They continue full force, and they put the metal to the floorboard, and they go. And they will not relent. They want him stopped, and they'll get him stopped any way they can, because what he represents when he comes into the office the next time is a whirlwind tour of accountability. Ladies and gentlemen, The Right Side with Doug Billings is now upon you. Are you ready? Let's go.
Hey everybody, my name is General Mike Flynn, and I'm here to do a big shout out for my great friend and one of the best in the business, Mr. Doug Billings. Right Side with Doug Billings, Right Side with Doug Billings. Doug is the future of the airwaves when it comes to independent broadcasters and podcasters. He is the new Rush Limbaugh. He's exactly what America needs right now, looking for honesty, looking for wisdom, looking for truth, looking for patriotism. Listen to Doug Billings at Right Side with Doug Billings. God bless you and God bless America, and thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are winning. We're winning, winning, winning. Welcome to The Right Side with Doug Billings. Are you ready?
We are not liberal snowflakes who melt away in the face of tragedy, adversity, and challenge. We are a covenant nation under God, and his divine providence is not dead and it's not gone. It is living within each and every one of you. And you will bring it to life in such a way that the world has never seen before. We never back down. We never give up. We march forward.
Hi, everybody. Doug Billings here, coming to you from smack dab in the middle of the fruited plain. Thank you very much for joining us. I appreciate you very much indeed. Ladies and gentlemen, before we go any further, don't forget DougBillings.us, my nightly appeal to you to head over after the show, of course, to DougBillings.us, the website over there. Check it out. Check out everything that it has to offer you from the shows, both in video format and in audio format. Also, there is a way to donate, and prayerfully, I'm asking you to set up a recurring monthly donation to the program over there at DougBillings.us. It's how I produce and deliver the show free of charge. Never charge you for the show. I just ask you to prayerfully consider how much is the truth worth to you. So DougBillings.us, if you don't mind, ladies and gentlemen. All right. So the assassination attempts on everybody's mind. Yeah, I don't like the memes, folks, that are coming out. You know, the 0-2 memes that you've seen. For me, it's like almost tempting fate or I just don't like it. Don't like the assassination memes. I know that those people, it's supposed to be a sign of strength and so forth, I suppose, for President Trump. I don't like these 0-2 memes. Hey, you missed me twice. It's tempting the kooks, I think, out there. I don't like it. And I don't like what I see coming from the radical liberal left. I never have. Trump to them we have to remember this. Trump is a veritable enemy to the radical left. He really is an enemy who must be stopped at all costs because he represents what they are most afraid of, the end to their hold on power. And he represents the person who can reveal more fully the deep state, the swamp, and so forth. Before President Trump, I don't think the words deep state were ever mentioned, at least not as much as they are now, certainly not in the context in which they are now. So I think when we line up all of Trump's accomplishments in his first 4 years, and to do that would take a full 2 weeks for me to get through all of those accomplishments. I think the greatest of all of them is that he revealed to us the depth, the width, and the evil of the deep state. And they know that. And it's a reason why they have been coming after him ever since the day he came down the golden escalator at Trump Tower in 2015 to announce his candidacy for 2016. So an enemy who must be stopped at all costs because they're afraid that he will win. He sees them, right? They see him with the most clear pathway ever now to a victory in the Electoral College. Now, you're going to see every person on social media, every liberal person will say that I'm crazy, that I'm wrong. They're going to pull out of their hat crazy polls that don't use good methodology and that are riddled with response bias, and they'll try to disclaim what I'm telling you. But he represents an end to their plot to fundamentally destroy, not just transform. They want to destroy America, and it will prevent them. Trump will, from their ultimate goal of erasing the American identity. Now, I know that there's trolls. I know that there are legitimate liberals who follow this program. They want to keep me. They think that they want to fact check and do everything else. They send me messages and this and that. So let me go down further in some more detail, because what I just said is important. They don't want to just fundamentally transform America, as Barack Obama first said. They want to fundamentally destroy America. And the American identity is something they want to wipe out. They want to crush it, and they want to erase it. Remember, to them, according to critical race theory and other, the Lincoln Project and things like that, other just kooky anti-American organizations, they want an end to America. It is not exceptional. She is not. America is not. She's founded on the backs of slaves. She's founded on tyranny and oppression. She is not exceptional. She has nothing to do with the divine providence of God. This is the radical view of the liberal movement in America, a movement that is not pro-America. There's a difference between the Democrats of John F. Kennedy's time and the communist socialists that we see today. The Democratic Party blending elements of all of those communism, socialism, fascism, Marxism, and it is obvious. It's obvious. That's what they're doing. So they are terrified of President Trump because he knows the game now. Since his first term, this is going to be a much different situation with President Trump in office for another 4 years. They're afraid of it. They see him winning. They know that he's got a clear pathway to the Electoral College victory, and they're trying to do everything they can to stop him. This is a reason for the lawfare that has been waged against him. These are the reasons for the personal attacks. These are the reasons why they amp up their rhetoric. And this is why the kooks are coming out of the closet trying to kill the guy. And we all had better pray that President Trump has a safety net around him of people who are watching after things like his airplane, because it wouldn't surprise any of us if they're trying to sabotage that vehicle so that we see, Trump Force One go down in flames. And it's terribly difficult to say, but we have to anticipate the craziness and the sheer evil of the radical liberal movement in America. He is going to act quickly, though. The good news is, in his second term, he knows the game. He knows what to do. He especially knows the power of the executive pen. He knows how to wield it with getting the least resistance to that. And he's going to be anything but a lame duck in this term. He's going to move expeditiously and with agility to get things done. You will see entire departments be erased and done away with, gutted, cleansed, and purged. So he'll have inside knowledge now because he's been there. He'll have friends and he'll have resources within the Department of Justice. At the same time that department is being gutted, cleansed, and purged of its corruption, he will go after and cleanse and gut other agencies of the corruption with it. He's already said this on the campaign trail. I've been telling you this for the past 4 years. This is the agenda of the next Trump administration. But because they weaponized the DOJ against him, he will not do the same thing the radical left is doing. He is not going to weaponize it for weaponization's sake. He's not going to merely go after his political opponents. He's going to go after people who broke the law and probably have committed treason along the way, but not in this weaponized manner of going after innocent people. Trump is going to go after the real crimes and the people who are responsible for them and those who are within the deep state. These are the ways forward. So not the imaginary crimes, the ones that they have persecuted him with. They can come up with all of the opinion editorials they want to in the New York Post and the Washington Times and whatever else. They can come up with any kind of commentary they want on social media. They can mandate their minions on social media to say and post whatever kind of manufactured enthusiasm or nonsensical commentary they want over and over again, hoping that if Americans read it or hear it more and often enough, they'll begin to believe it. And they can continue to use and get employment from or enjoyment from the convicted arrests, the people who join them on the streets with regards to the anarchy that they can create. They, after all, create purposeful chaos and crisis. They enjoy it. They think that that's what drives people towards big government. So that's why they put in place policies that create chaos and crisis. So all of the court dates, all of the things that they've arrayed against President Trump without any acknowledging of truth, without any credibility, without any merit behind them, every case that you can think of, all of them are either going to be thrown out or overturned. We know that, and they know it. Nothing has worked. How can we possibly stop this guy? They are terrified of this possibility of Trump obtaining the White House again, and they are unrelenting in their prosecution and persecution of him. And so within the gaping emptiness of space where once their souls resided, the radical liberal hierarchy and the deep state are at risk of being prosecuted now because of a potential win of President Trump. They've put forth their takeovers. They've put forth their cabals. They've colluded with enemy nations like China and Russia. Russia coming out and openly endorsing Kamala Harris and the radical liberal movement because Vladimir Putin knows that party would be the pathway of least resistance to anything that he wants to try to accomplish in the world. Remember looking back in time when Obama had that hot mic moment when he was talking with the president of Russia? Hey, tell Vladimir I'll be flexible on missile defense and the security of the United States if he gives me some space after my next election. Remember that? It was right there in front of our eyes. Obama, it's treasonous to say that kind of thing. Hey, I'll revamp our missile defense system and go easy on you there if you give me some space after the next election. Criminal, treasonous, outrageous. And I could go down a list of such things. Those words are impeachable offenses that Obama uttered to the president of Russia. And this is right out of their playbook. They take the words that they have used and sugarcoat them. And they try to say the things that Trump has done and paint them in exactly the way that they are with regards to how the radical left engages in treason. Trump doesn't do that. Trump does it all, in his own words, perfectly. So the Communist Socialist, formerly known as Democrat Party hierarchy, terrified of Trump's return, and therefore and thereby their rhetoric is turned up. It's not slowed down, and they want the chaos. They want the crisis. I'm going to continue to explain it to you, ladies and gentlemen. Stay with me. I'll be right back, though, after this break. Cheers. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the set of my show. Coming to you, as I always do, from smack dab in the middle of the fruited plain. And I want to talk to you about EMP, electromagnetic pulse. Now, these things can happen from the sun in nature and naturally, but they can also happen through man-made devices made by people who don't like us very much. And thanks to Kamala Harris, our failed border czar, we've got millions of people in this country who don't like us. Thank you very much, Kamala. Well, EMP Shield is a device like this one here that hooks up to your breaker box in your home, and it prevents your home and your electrical system from being fried in case of an electromagnetic pulse. There's a smaller version that you can put on the battery of your vehicle, so it is also protected. So head over to empshield.com, promo code Doug, ladies and gentlemen, empshield.com, promo code Doug. Believe it, for the Republic. Cheers.
The Right Side with Doug Billings.
Hello, I'm Brandon House. Is the government tracking you? Do they have access to all your data? Well, if you go to worldviewtalk.com, you'll find out about a cell phone company that, well, does not store your data. They don't do that. This is what they're known for. They don't store your data. You have privacy. You're not being tracked. That's why a lot of folks are turning to worldviewtalk.com. You'll find their prices are very competitive. All the details are there at worldviewtalk.com. Again, worldviewtalk.com. Oh, while you're there, not only do they have cell phones that aren't tracking you, you can find out about how to get a satellite phone. Should the whole system go down and you want to communicate with a family member or a loved one, you might want to have a satellite phone. Or how about their solar generators? They have great solar generators. Check them all out right now. Worldviewtalk.com, worldviewtalk.com.
The Right Side with Doug Billings, where we meet in determined prayer and determined patriotism.
All right, everybody, welcome back to The Right Side with Doug Billings, coming to you from smack dab in the middle of the fruited plain, talking about the assassination attempts and the reasons behind why these things are happening, the rhetoric of the radical liberal hierarchy, their minions, and they are, I think, obviously to blame here. Also, I want to hear what you all have to say. If you feel like you want to call in the show, the number 901-316-8404, 901-316-8404. We'll be happy to open up the phone lines and take your calls as they come in. So they are terrified of President Trump. He's a verifiable enemy of the radical left, unveiling and revealing and putting an end to everything that they are trying to do with regards to their fundamental destruction and transformation of America away from the divine providence of God and the intent of the founding fathers. Their very survival as a political power movement is at risk if Trump wins. And if MAGA candidates for the Congress and the Senate begin to win, gaining majorities in both houses or extending their majority in the House and gaining a majority in the Senate, the liberal hierarchy knows that they are in deep trouble of losing and face a real possibility of losing power. This is the reason of their terror. All right. Now, they expect Trump to begin to order, when he comes into office, Trump as commander in chief and as the person who is in charge of the Department of Justice. A couple of things are going to happen in tandem. First of all, Trump is going to gut, cleanse, and purge the Department of Justice. And he is going to use, I believe, in my opinion, my friend General Michael Flynn, to do that. He will appoint Flynn in a role that does not require congressional approval to go in and gut, cleanse, and purge the Department of Justice. Okay, so at the same time that is going on, Trump is going to order the Department of Justice to assign special prosecutors to go after the Biden crime family. To do so with more extreme prejudice than you've ever seen the Department of Justice go after anybody, after any crime family in America. They're going to uncover this treasure trove of illegal activity that they have been engaging upon, not only here domestically, but internationally as well, including the ties that we've all seen discussed about Ukraine and the money laundering and so forth. So all of the deep state will be touched by the tentacles of this investigation, and it will be done lawfully. You will not see illegal lawfare coming out of the Trump White House. They won't stop with the Biden family. Trump's going to order investigations into Merrick Garland, the current attorney general, in case you're from Raytown, Missouri, and the weaponized border operation, I should say the anti-weaponized, taking the powers of our border away from border control agents and border patrol agents, and how Alejandro Mayorkas is impeachable or should have been impeached. So you're going to have investigations into the Biden crime family, Merrick Garland, and Alejandro Mayorkas because of the destruction and the malfeasance, really, that these gentlemen have engaged in their time as sworn officers within the government of the United States. So the border catastrophe, obvious to anyone who's paying attention. And so that's why these are the reasons, among others, that these people on the radical left and within their hierarchy are terrified and that are saying all sorts of things about President Trump, throwing everything at the wall and everything at him in hopes that something will stick. And nothing will, nothing has. And I've told you before many times, every case that President Trump is facing is going to be either thrown out or overturned. So rest assured about that. And that's why you're seeing these assassination attempts. The threat that President Trump represents to this communist socialist, formerly known as Democrat Party, is real. And it's not based in what they're doing with lawfare. It's based in recognized law, the law of the land. That's the difference. Trump will do this in a legal manner. The MAGA movement within the government will not do what the liberals have done. They will not, and we cannot. Our side will not subvert or try to change election laws, right? We won't try to change them to suit our advantage. We will root out the corruption and fix it so that our elections are fair and equitable. We won't use lawfare. We're not going to abolish the electoral college like the liberals threaten to do every time they get a chance or every time the discussion comes up. We are not going to pack or do away with the Supreme Court. The right side, the conservative movement, is not going to eliminate the filibuster. We won't subvert voting ID laws. We won't invite millions of people in and give them IDs. We're not going to. In fact, we're going to correct that and get rid of the people who have come in illegally and retrieve the IDs. Thank you very much. We won't advocate the falsification of ballots like they did, and we don't need to ask social media billionaires, people who own these platforms, to censor liberal speech or to do away with it altogether. You see, our side doesn't break the law. We enforce it. We don't defund the police. We fund them. We don't need someone like George Soros to come into our side to finance domestic terror groups like Black Lives Matter or Antifa and even the Lincoln Project people. We won't put forth politicians like Tim Walz, who advocates anarchy and who causes millions of people to suffer by means of violence, riots, looting, rape, murder, arson, and anarchy, which is what he does and what he did and what his policies will continue to do. Just look at what he, let me just look at his state. Minnesota, Minneapolis on fire for 3 days before he did anything about it. Businesses destroyed, owned by hardworking Americans and families. Mom and pop shops throughout the state burned. Families and individuals whose livelihoods are now ruined. And it's not just Minnesota, it's every state that is run, led, and managed by liberals. This is what happened during COVID, the wreckage of our economies, the shutdowns, the mandates, all of it within the state boundaries of blue governors, liberal governors. Well, Trump is not going to facilitate that kind of thing. He's not going to facilitate, like Kamala Harris did, the bailout of arsonists and anarchists. Oh, yeah, Kamala Harris and Tim Walz teamed up long before they partnered for the nomination of president and vice president. They teamed up back when Walz was burning Minnesota, and Kamala came to the rescue, setting up funding mechanisms that would bail out the anarchists. You all know the story. That's not how we behave. They want the carnage to continue. They want the crisis and chaos. If there's not an organic beginning to any kind of crisis or chaos, they will artificially create one, just like they did with George Floyd in Minnesota, and the country burned up because of it. Our side is not going to engage in activities that would set forth policies that create chaos and crisis. The left does it all of the time. During the elections of 2020 and 2022, begging the Saudis, Biden did, begging the Venezuelans, begging the Iranians to start pumping more oil so that we could lower artificially our gas prices to make him look good for that midterm election. Well, Trump will not drain the strategic oil reserves that we have like Biden is doing, again, to artificially lower the price of gasoline for us during election years. Trump won't put forth catastrophic military plans that cause the loss of life like Biden and Harris did And they were both in the room. Harris is quite proud of the fact that she was the last one in the room with Biden when the decision was made to get out of Afghanistan. And we lost 13 heroes that day as a result of the decisions and the plan that Kamala Harris put forth. It's no wonder she has made no effort since that day to contact any of the families to offer any kind of personal condolence or any kind of public recognition or apology for her part in that plan. Partly because she's not sorry. The plan went right according to what they want, because they want chaos and they want crisis. All of the equipment that we lost, all of the money that we lost, perfect, great. The Taliban is now better armed than almost any of our allies in that region. Exactly what they want, because it has the potential to create more crisis and more chaos. These are not accidental outcomes of flawed policy or bad decisions. It is purposeful. And it's what they do all the time. Trump will not mandate any wreckage, any shutdowns, any failed military plan. The left did it all to us, and they used COVID as a veil to hide, whereby they would then work in secret to derail elections, to derail process, to derail liberty and freedom. The wreckage that was done during COVID and that when Trump was president was at the feet and lies squarely on the shoulders of responsibility with the radical left leaders of individual states that were destroyed economically. We need to begin to say these things out loud. We need to begin to be bold in what we proclaim and shut down the lies and the misinformation of the left when we see it. And we see it, if you're watching, often. The liberal movement in America, which is now headed up by the puppets, Kamala Harris and Tim Walz, has no record of success. None. Now, this is no secret, not to anyone, not even the radical left liberal hierarchy. The evidence of the obvious is sufficient, folks. Just look around the country. Nothing of any substance that has brought about any kind of improvement. They cannot speak honestly to the American people about their record, so they begin to spin words and meaning. They begin to memorize platitudes to speak at a debate. They begin to change the narratives and the vernacular to suit their campaign year rhetoric. Oh, yeah, we're all for fracking. Oh, yeah, we're going to build that wall. If they do win, you can better believe they'll go right back to the radical anti-American way of life that they've always pursued. Diminishment of our American identity and the reduction of the freedoms and the liberties that we have. Oh, she said in the debate, we're not going to take your guns. And the next week, she's talking about mandatory buybacks and getting rid of all assault weaponry in the United States. Somehow I get the feeling that the words shall not be infringed simply don't sink in with these people. But there's more. I'm going to talk to you more about this liberal ideology, what it means, how it's all related to the violence that's aimed, quite literally, at President Trump. But first, reminding you, DougBillings.us, ladies and gentlemen, please head over there, click on the donate tab, and prayerfully consider setting up a monthly recurring donation so that I can continue to bring you this program free of charge. DougBillings.us, and we will be taking your calls also today on the program when I get back. Stay with me, ladies and gentlemen. Cheers.
Hello, I'm Brandon House. Melissa and I have been taking Bella Grace, this powerful elixir, since last fall, 2023. The results have been amazing. My hands would crack and bleed, deep cuts and cracks every winter for years. No matter what we did, we couldn't get them to stop cracking and bleeding. This year, I took Bella Grace, no cracking, no bleeding. My acid reflux, gone. Haven't had to take a Pepsid. My hair growth, the last 2 times I had my hair cut, the lady had to use thinning shears on my hair. That's amazing. We've also received incredible feedback from you, our listening audience, and the impact it's had for you. This is loaded with astaxanthin. That's a powerful antioxidant. Collagen, but top grade collagen. Studies show 95% of it is being absorbed in the body because of the way they develop it. Then we have something called cat's claw. That's an anti-inflammatory from a vine in Peru. It's the bark, and it's an anti-inflammatory. There are about 80 clinical trials on Bella Grace. Please get a subscription now and save. MelissaHousebg.com.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to the set of my show, The Right Side. Hey, want to tell you about beef. Doug's Beef, DougsBeef.com. This is not your ordinary beef. This is prepper beef. If you want to have a supply of protein on hand, I'm talking ribeye, strip steaks, Kansas City and New York strip, and T-bones as well. Doug's Beef, ladies and gentlemen, check it out. Comes to you in freeze-dried packets, shelf life of 25 years. And when you cook this stuff up, I'm telling you, I wouldn't sell it if it wasn't delicious. Awesome stuff. DougsBeef.com. Head over there, take a look at all of the inventory, and stock your shelves with protein, with good tasting stuff. DougsBeef.com, ladies and gentlemen. Check it out. There's the beef. Believe it. For the Republic. Cheers.
The Right Side with Doug Billings.
Doug Billings, reminding you that conservatives are better looking than liberals.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back to The Right Side with Doug Billings. We meet over here with determined prayer and determined patriotism. That's how we roll. The prayer, I think, obvious. Determined patriotism, that's the hard work of it. That's getting involved in our local levels, the counties in which we live, and taking control of the process of government in our areas. That's how we will change and recover the republic back and away from this radical liberal mob that has taken over, because we will prevail. They have done it, and notice that they have not done it with violence. They've not done it. They've not marched in the street with tanks and taken over by civil war. They've taken over the republic because they got involved, and so that's our challenge: determined patriotism. And to that end, every year I have a couple of these conferences that I call the Determined Patriotism Conference. This year in December 13th and 14th, to be exact, I'm going to have another one, a Determined Patriotism Conference in Branson, Missouri. And you can go to the website Determined Patriotism Conference, determinedpatriotismconference.com, and get information. Now, these are educational, inspirational, motivational. They give you the tools to go back home, to work. There's calls to action, to get involved, various levels, how to network with one another in your local communities, and go back and reclaim the republic. Hopefully also, since it's in December, we're going to have a little bit of a celebration mixed in there with the election of President Trump back into the White House. So again, determinedpatriotismconference.com. Get all the information, very affordable. Have a dinner on Friday night. We're going to go to a Branson show on Saturday night. If you've never been to Branson during Christmas, it's like a Norman Rockwell painting times 10. Beautiful area down there. And we will meet with one another to discuss our determined patriotism. All right, so we have in front of us here the Liberal Party of America, this commune socialist, formerly known as Democrat Party, that is clearly not a pro-America political party. Everything that I would point to you would be just look at them. Look what they do. Look at the policies they put in place. We've already discussed Tim Walz and Kamala Harris, burning of Minnesota, bailing out the anarchists, and so forth. And since this liberal ideology seeks to destroy America by first diluting her identity, they have to lie and mislead the people of America as much as possible, in the hopes that if they tell enough lies, people of America will begin to believe them as truth. This is all done with the intent of drawing the weak-minded to their side. And by the way, they believe that when chaos and crisis are started, it drives more people to the false belief that big government is needed to rescue us from all of this chaos and all of this crisis. So you'll begin to see them use, if you haven't already noticed, they use words like social justice and equality and all of these labels that are meant to make us feel good, but that at their heart, when they're used by liberals, are misleading. Remember, there is no such thing as social justice in the opening of a border to allow unvetted and undocumented illegals to come into someone's country. There is nothing that creates any social justice. In fact, that destroys human dignity when we do that. Case in point, the American border. Oh, we're the party of human dignity. We're going to take care of these people. Opening the border is the best thing we can do because it bolsters and it builds human dignity. BS, ladies and gentlemen, nonsense. As Rush Limbaugh used to say, BS. It's Barbara Streisand, BS. It's not true. Doing that, opening borders, diminishes, if not completely destroys human dignity. I mean, we can look just at the child and human trafficking issues that are going on as a result of the open border. No one that comes up to America from the southern border gets here without paying off or making horrible deals or with the cartels. It just does not happen. Oh, but the radical left, they're going to proclaim that they are the moral and ethical superiors. They have the moral high ground. They think they're smarter than you are, ladies and gentlemen. They view themselves as the elites, and they are smarter than you. They deserve to be above you, to dictate how you will live your life. And therefore, they view themselves as not only better, but immune to the laws and the regulations that you have to abide by. They can do things that the rest of us can't do, and that's by design. Remember, during COVID, do you remember Nancy Pelosi making a trip to her hairdresser to the building that was supposed to be shut and closed down because of radical liberal mandates? And people were supposed to be wearing masks, but there she is on the security footage, marching in there with no mask, having them open up, ordering them to open up the salon so that she can get her hair did. Well, we saw it, and we know. And that's just one case. Ladies and gentlemen, the laws and the rules of this country do not apply to the radical left in their view. Under the cover of the pandemic, they subverted and they changed voting laws. We've all seen it. We see them, back in those days, the usual absentee voting percentages were hovering around 27 to 30%. They increased them to 70%. And there were little to no audits done to verify the authenticity and the legitimacy of any of those ballots. Of course not. That's not in their plan. And what are they doing with the illegals coming over? You can better believe for all the entitlements, there's a little trade going on here. Hey, Mr. and Mrs. Immigrant, come on over. By the way, we're going to give you all sorts of free stuff. You're not going to have to worry about a thing. We're going to give you a United States ID card. And all I want you to do is take this box of ballots over here, fill them out, pass them out amongst your friends, collect them, and drop them off there with a guy driving that white van. That's all you got to do to get the free stuff. If you think something like that is not happening, your head has been buried in the sand. Either that or you're a blind partisan or a chronic sufferer of intellectual immaturity. It's happening. It's part of their long play takeover, their long play cheat. Haven't you ever wondered since 2020, how are they going to do it again? What kind of gig are they going to try to pull off here in order to try to influence the election? Well, here it is right in front of our eyes. It has always been, and I am the only one that's been saying it since 2020. As soon as Biden, on day one of his presidency, opened up the borders with the signing of his executive pen, I have said it. The reason behind this is twofold. Number one, they want to dilute the identity of America by bringing in all of these millions of people. They've seen it happen in France. They've seen it happen in Germany. They've seen it happen in Spain and the UK. Dilute the identity. And then number two, they want these people to become the new electoral base. We're going to give them IDs. We're going to just think of all the votes we can get if we promise them free stuff. In other words, we're going to enslave them to entitlements and give them free stuff. This is what they've done to everyone, even those of you who have been here a long time. It all began long before FDR, but really got accentuated with him. The entitlements. Oh, yeah. Keep them slaves to the big federal government. Free money, Social Security, all of the entitlements. And here we are, addicted to them. And it was never intended by the founding fathers. So no audits, voting regulations and laws changed under the cover of COVID. Remember the prime directive. I think it was President Obama's mantra in his branding. Build back better. Oh, we're going to build America back better. Don't you worry. Well, that phrase always bothered me from the moment he said it, because it implies that somehow America is broken and needs to be built back. How would you make America better? And then it dawned on me, the word that they left out. And again, if you're keeping score, I was the first one to say the word destroy was left out on purpose. Destroy America. But they realized, you see, they're not stupid. There are many things, but the radical left are not stupid. Obama, Barack, come here, man. We can't say destroy out loud in public. I mean, I know it's part of our brand. We're going to destroy America. I get it. We want to transform it, destroy it. Yes, I know. But we can't say that out loud. We can't make that our ad campaign. We can't go out there and just say we're going to destroy America and we're going to build it back better. So what if we just say build back better? That sounds a lot more pleasant. And there were actual meetings held about that very topic, ladies and gentlemen. And that's the truth. Destroy, build back better. And better means in their radical liberal image, their commu-socialist image. And the way to get that done as quickly as possible is to create to implement policies that create crisis and chaos, to divert attention away from this transformation of America. Wait a minute. We had a pandemic and you're changing laws and this and that. Well, don't pay attention to this hand over here. Just watch this hand over here. That was the diversion of COVID. While they were fundamentally transforming America behind the scenes, stealing elections, influencing policy, so on and on and on. And it involves censoring and silencing anybody who disagrees with the liberal narrative. So you get involved people who own social media platforms, obviously the legacy media, to shut people up. And that includes censoring and canceling a president of the United States. And now trying to cancel and censor the same person who's running again for the presidency. Yes, Donald Trump. How do you stop him? Trump was impeached for things that we know were false, but yet they tried to do it. They pursued them anyway. Everything fabricated. Hunter's laptop is real. We found that out, and Trump knew it and said it, and we all knew it. But the radical left media went to great lengths to partner up with the hierarchy of the radical left communist socialist party to snuff out the truth on purpose. Trump brought up in their debate when Biden, when they were at their first debate back in 2020. And so people behind the scenes then get to work on the radical left side to discredit Trump. We got to take this guy down. He will undo everything that we have tried to accomplish since not only the time of Obama, but long before. This fundamental transformation of America that we all want to see as radical liberals will be stopped cold in its tracks if President Trump gets back in, especially now, because he knows the game. He knows how to expedite all of this. He knows where the bodies are buried, so to speak. Christopher Steele, they put forth that completely bogus dossier ordered by Hillary Clinton, paid for by Hillary's campaign, all of it. The FBI hires Steele as a consultant. Are you kidding me? And then we get the Fusion GPS nonsense. We get the array of these files that were completely falsified. We have all of the cases going on now currently from New York with Alvin Bragg, from Mar-a-Lago and the classified documents to E. Jean Carroll. And we've spent 22 months and over $45 million on all of that nonsense, only now to know it was fabricated lawfare against the sitting president of the United States and the primary candidate in opposition to once again become president. All right, up against another break. Ladies and gentlemen, when we come back, I will wrap this up and show you and explain to you exactly why the radical left is again terrified and pursuing everything they can to stop Trump. Stay with me. I'll be right back. Cheers. I want to tell you about the good people over at EMP Shield, electromagnetic pulse, ladies and gentlemen. It can fry your home electrical system or your vehicle's electrical system. But if you attach one of these, now this is for your breaker box at home. There's a smaller version that goes on your battery of your car, your vehicle, that will prevent it from being fried in the event of an electromagnetic pulse. Because as you know, thanks to Administrator Biden, many people coming across the border now who don't exactly have the best of intentions. Protect yourself. EMPshield.com. Get huge discounts over there if you use the promo code DOUG. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the set of my show, The Right Side. I am Doug Billings. Today's economy crashing thanks to the policies, platform, and politics of Kamala Harris. Thank you very much. If you want to protect your investment that you have set aside for your retirement, everyone's talking about it. Everyone's diversifying in gold and silver, the biblical standard for which we can protect our money. Head over to Doug's Gold, DOUGS gold.com, Doug'sGold.com, and simply get information about how you can diversify your portfolio and protect your retirement, ladies and gentlemen. Doug'sGold.com. Also information about how to use gold and silver as currency on Doug'sGold.com. Ladies and gentlemen, head over there today. Protect yourselves. Protect your retirement. Believe it. For the Republic. Cheers.
The Right Side with Doug Billings.
Doug Billings, driving the left crazy with the truth.
Crazy. They don't live in that world. They have to use lies to get their way. We see it happen every day. Look, the reason why Trump represents such a threat is because he represents the truth. And the truth will undo everything the radical left has been trying to set up since before the time of Bill Clinton, certainly since the time of Barack Obama. It is in full, they are in full force. I call it kamikaze mode. They're flying the liberal ideas of their ideology into the deck of the American Republic, and we are going to save the ship. So the radical left, the liberal, the institutions around the world, remember when they were prosecuting Trump with all of the nonsense, Russia collusion, the China connections, the Steele dossier, all of the things put forth during all of it nonsense. And the journalists, the radical left members of the legacy media who would cover these stories, some of them won Pulitzer Prizes for telling the lies of the liberal party. And it's really no laughing matter. But now that all of this has been disproven, do you think for a minute there's been an apology given by any of these journalists? Do you think they've given back any of the money that they were given for the Pulitzer Prizes? Of course not. It's all a big game in there. It's the hardball game of politics. Truth be damned, we're not going to worry about that. We're not going to let truth get in the way of our agenda. And they talked a big game, remember, about Trump. Trump cannot be above the law. No president is above the law. Well, as it turns out, Trump didn't break any laws, and it's the radical left members of the deep state who did, but without any consequence, up until the time Trump gets back in office. And therein lies the sheer terror that is coursing through the veins of the radical left liberal hierarchy, because in that liberal hierarchy, they usually always have each other's backs. They're a close-knit group. They use these kinds of things: crime, deceit, falsification of documents, lying under oath, fake investigations, meaningless, meritless investigations like the Mueller investigation. They pull together and implement a kangaroo court in New York. The Mar-a-Lago classified documents case, nonsense. The E. Jean Carroll sexual abuse case, nonsense. The Stormy Daniels pay to be quiet case, nonsense. It's all used to impede, to resist, to derail, to delegitimize, and disqualify, ultimately, Donald Trump. And, by the way, to financially break him. That's part of their goal, too. I know the guy's a billionaire, but $1 billion is not an infinite amount of money. And so next on the liberal game plan, after all of this nonsense arrayed against President Trump has failed, they go out and they get these woke members of the military. Let's get as many 4-star generals as we can who are on our woke list, and let's pay them to write op-eds and editorials about how President Trump is unfit to be commander-in-chief. So they did all of that. Admiral McRaven, General McCaffrey, General McChrystal, General Milley, he's a real beauty. He was the chairman of the Joint Chiefs. And so they all go out and say horribly untrue things and reveal themselves at the same time as members of the woke problem that we have within our military. General Milley went to great lengths to subvert and disobey orders from the commander-in-chief, who at the time, none other than Donald Trump. So there's problems throughout our society. I know that every organization has a woke element in it. I mean, even the military. And so that's something that's going to be dealt with very quickly. I'm telling you. I mean, that's going to be a first 100 days issue, the woke military. And Trump's going to go in there with the help of people like General Flynn and others to gut cleanse and purge it. So just watch. Not one general came forward. Notice this. When we all saw Administrator Biden begin to fail mentally, cognitively, obviously being unfit, this commander-in-chief, Joe Biden, obviously didn't know where he was. Remember the D-Day celebrations? Didn't know where he was going, what was going on. People had to guide him off stage. People had to guide him back on the field of remembrance. But not one of these woke generals came forward and said, you know what? We have to invoke Article 88 and get him out of here. He's unfit. He can't do it. He can't be commander-in-chief. Of course not, because of a couple of reasons. One might be that they believe in the radical woke agenda. Number two, if they don't believe in it, they're too afraid to speak up and don't have the bravery to do so because they don't want to be canceled by that woke movement. They don't want to be either demoted or discharged, which the radical left will do to anybody, no matter your rank in life, if you disagree with their platform. Biden's dementia was evident to everybody, but nobody in the military called him out. Nobody in the administration called him out until that debate when we all saw it head on. There was no way to say, well, that was just AEI, an AI, artificial intelligence rendering, or that was an edited clip. There was no way to claim any of that now out in the daylight. You better believe that the radical left hierarchy, had they been on our side, they would have written letters about Joe Biden, if they were on the side of truth, being incompetent and unable, but they didn't. And so that's where we are. And so I understand that sometimes it seems like there is just too much in front of us to correct. And what I'm saying is that's not true. Now, there's too much to correct in one election cycle, yes, but there's not too much to correct in a few election cycles. And so therefore, and thereby, I recommend what I call determined patriotism. The founding fathers didn't realize the dream of independence overnight, folks. You all know this. You all know it. I'm not trying to be condescending, but we as Americans, I read so much on social media, so many people are absolutely convinced that America is done, especially if Trump doesn't win. Then there are people out there saying America's done. If Trump doesn't win this time, America is over. Ladies and gentlemen, look, I love Trump. Going to vote for him. Voted for him. It's going to be 3 times that I voted for the guy for presidency. But I'm here to tell you also that President Trump doesn't determine whether or not America lives or dies. You do. You have the honor of being we the people. You have the honor of being the ones who get to decide whether or not you are going to be determined in your patriotism to go out and reclaim the republic from the radical left mob that is trying to destroy it, and to rebuild it in an image that does not include the divine providence of God and the intent of the founding fathers. That's our job. We are the ones, again, local level, wherever you are, whatever county you live in, start there. Change never begins in Washington, D.C. It always filters up from the local level. Always. We will see President Trump again go after gut cleanse and purge, Department of Justice, FBI, CIA. This radical left movement that has cascaded down upon us is not a pro-America movement. You cannot put forth a mantra that says we've got to build back better America, or we have to fundamentally transform America. A patriot, a United States patriot, doesn't say that. In fact, you cannot be an American patriot if you believe that. America is perfectly inspired by God and put together and codified in our founding documents by the founding fathers. What we have to improve on are our relationships with each other. But the radical left in its current state will not allow that, because if we don't agree with them, we're canceled. There is no debate. There's no compromise. There is no way forward with them. So we have got to get back to the We the People movement, to a grassroots takeover of peaceful involvement in our local levels of government. The radical left, they do a lot of things that are wrong, but what they do right, they stick together. They hold the line. You never see them, at least very rarely will you see them call each other out in public, to feed on each other, with their disagreements. They do that in private, but they don't ever, hardly, do that in public. We need to be united in our desire to defend America. We need to be united with each other for the principles that our founding documents represent. Because I've got news for you. The radical left, their days of self-grandizing, their days of living above the law, their days of weaponizing the law, the Department of Justice, are coming to an end. And that end is represented by Donald Trump. They won't be able to get away with anything they want to do with him in office, and there will be accountability. But you have to be warned, and I've said this to you before. Excuse me, don't count on what some people out there are saying. There's going to be a Nuremberg 2.0, baby. Oh, yeah, we're going to have people are going to be rounded up. I'm going to be the secretary of retribution. We're going to have retribution all around. It's not going to be like that, you guys. Those are clickbait concepts put forth to gain attention and to gain followers on social media. We will not operate like that. It's not going to happen like that. We are going to be lawful in our pursuit of justice. We do not defeat the left by becoming what they've become. So hang in there. America is in a nightmare. We're going to wake up. We're in the process of waking up already. And your involvement is going to save this republic, ladies and gentlemen. Stay firm and believe in that. Believe it for the republic. Good night, ladies and gentlemen. God bless you. Cheers.